Hello everyone, today is day 13 of the 30-day watercolour challenge, and this beauty is where we've painted a painting of a little dog that looks more like an acrylic painting. So we've used watercolour in the way or the manner of layering, bringing out the tone. Really easy to do. We just use some masking fluid to give us a little bit more amplification of her whiteness. Anybody could do this one, and I just take you through that step by step, really easy. So I hope you'll join me today for day 13. Look how fancy it looks when it's under a piece of glass. Lovely. Hello friends, it's Helen Norton here, and I have day 13's painting, which I just popped into an old studio frame so I could show you how it kind of turns out. So one of my studio tips is to always have a couple of old frames, or, you could just buy some cheap frames at Kmart or somewhere. I mean, honestly, they're exactly the same, if not better quality than what you get at a framer, especially for small works. Just buy them for only testing out. Try and work with universal sizes with your paper that actually fit into standard pre-built frames. It just makes your life so much easier. It will work forever like that. And often when you buy them, they come in a little box already. So if you paint your painting and you want to send it to a client, it's already there. Just keep the packaging, and generally they're made really well because they do actually have to ship them. Today's little painting, which I talk more about in the video, which is based on a faithful little dog of mine, I just wanted to hop on so you could see my face, that I was still here and I'm doing it. It's me, it's not a robot. Look, that just looks so groovy. I guess it took me about an hour at the most, but I really am happy with that painting. Really simple concepts and ideas. And it's one of the easiest things that you could do. Like if you're just starting out, or even if you're not just starting out and you've just lost your way a little bit, this kind of painting where you're crossing your techniques, like I kind of used, I guess, more layering like you would with acrylic or even oil, by building up the layers, just do it. Throw the rule books out. Right, wrong, you'll see me go through it. It's actually really very easy. Most of the breakthroughs that I have are just through me making big mistakes. The best paintings come from the big mistakes. That's when you have your big breakthroughs. I'll make a video where I talk only about that, and maybe I'll make a video where I deliberately make mistakes. Wait a minute, I do that every time I make a video. So there's no point, right? Anyway, I better go over and edit this video so I can put it on YouTube. I'm sorry, my times are all irregular, but honestly, the editing's just taking me so long because I'm getting all complicated and I'm adding all these different cameras as I do and having far too much fun with the editing. All right, signing out. I'll see you tomorrow. Today I thought we would use some masking. Yay, finally. I have not used this apart from just testing it, so I thought I would give it a try. I think I just bought it on Amazon or somewhere. What I want to paint today is a little garden scene. I'm going to base it on this painting which I've had for a long, long time. It's an acrylic and it's actually framed under glass, but this is my dear old dog. One of my first dogs, her name was Sue, and she lived to a grand old age, and I just adored her. She came with me on all my travels through the outback of Australia, just her and I in the ute travelling around on our own. And I did this painting really quickly one day in acrylic, and it was just such an emotional painting. It was just her sitting in the garden. She was an old blue dog crossed with a bull terrier or something, goodness knows, just a mixed bag. And the reason I'd like to do this is that one of my viewers was discussing with me about translating what I'm doing in watercolour into acrylic. And this is where I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to take the idea of this acrylic painting, which is very simple, very expressive. So if you can just see, there's a lot of texture, there's daubs and blobs and things, and even Sue Dog is really done quickly. And I'm going to translate that into watercolour. And I think that one of the great things about mixing up your mediums is that when you flick over, take on challenges that you might only do in one medium, then translate them into the other medium, and you'll get a whole different picture. It's really quite exciting. So this is basically what I'm going to use to inspire me to do something similar today, where I will just work with probably setting up a really dark background of deep greens and lush blues. Even the background here, it's not based in reality. It's just like a straight blue with a little bit of mauve in there. And it's all about the drama. It's an expressionist painting. Now I could just use the gouache white to pull out a little dog, which I'll put in the corner, just looking back like that, a very simple one. Not refined at all, I'm promising myself. That's where I'm going to use a little bit of masking because I want her to be white, and I'll do that initially, do a little drawing, do a bit of masking, and then you can actually see that yes, I can do masking and yes, you can do masking if you've got something that really wants to stand out. But don't mask the whole thing, that'll just make a headache for you. Do the rest of it with absolute abandon and craziness and mess, and you just cannot make a mistake with that approach. There is no way. There are no mistakes in a painting like this, especially not when you're expressing emotion. I'm just going to put Sue Dog right there on that easel so I can glance across and get some ideas for this painting. You know, I could just use a normal pencil, that's a 4B, or I could just use that watercolour pencil we had the other day, because it doesn't matter, whatever we're doing, it's going to be masked, so there's no problem either way. The problem with doing like a little expressive dog with pencil is I'm going to tighten up, so I'll just have to do the best I can. And remember, whatever I mask, it can be covered up again if I go too far. But the idea is we'll have this really outstanding white patch that we can then work paint into. I better make a mess of it. Let's see. So I'm thinking about the quarters, you know, where you sort of have so I'm just thinking about the golden triangle, you know, where you're trying to get something in one of these areas, the point of interest. Could have my dog here, or probably, maybe I'll have her here. I'll make her quite large. And I really do not want any detail here. I'll just keep a similar approach. Very simple. See, there's just two kind of oblong shapes. They're just a bit of a wonky ears, which she had. They certainly didn't stand up. Pretty much all I need. I guess I could just give myself a little guide with the nose. That is it. Look how simple that is. Just keep it really crispy. Let's mask that and then we can get on with the whole painting. Oh, gee whiz, let's see how we go with this. I have no idea. Let's go. Ooh, here we go. It feels like I might need to use a brush. Generally, you've got to get this brush cleaned straight away. I'll just blob a bit more in there. It's not like she's got little whiskery bits, or I think I've got too much. Never mind. Now I just need to get that to dry. I've just probably put way too much in. You know, I could just have a few little red dots like that. We'll see whether they come out. Where I could use a really bright little dash of colour, maybe, just a few here. I just washed that off in water and it seemed to come out okay, which is good. They've probably improved the formula. Might give that a dry. Feels like it is dry enough. Now that I've rediscovered my very old and grotty hake brush, I'm going to use that to get a nice wash right across the whole lot, focusing on keeping some dark greens. I think I'll just do a bit of sky first. Normally I use the spectrum blue, but I've got some cobalt blue here. I think the idea is that it doesn't really matter that much. Oh, I seem to have some sort of ghosting in the paper there. It's a little bit insipid, isn't it? I'll go in with a bit of ultramarine into the sky to ramp it up a bit. If we want to make it all expressive, we're not so much doing a wash as making it a bit more expressive. If you've got some cerulean blue, that also makes a nice colour. It's a tiny painting, so we don't have a lot of room in the canvas, so to say, to get a lot in. But even if I put this down now, and we can go, this is cerulean blue, which is a little bit of a different blue, and it'll probably get lost in the wash as we go, but we'll just pop it in, and that will go back down into the background. And I am really happy to have all this cloudy business, you know, lots of cauliflower business going on. Where others fear to tread, I go gleefully. I want it to have an expressive feeling like an acrylic painting would. I'll just come back in with a bit more of everything. As we said, just keep it expressive. There we go, that should do. Right, that's enough. Now, because I want the green to just sort of fuzzle up into the blue and not like have a clear edge, I will be going back into it, and I'll use ultramarine, and any green will do, probably more an olive green and an ultramarine, and that'll just make that nice, the tops of tree feeling. So just a bit of a darkish green and a bit of ultra blue. And we don't mind clouds, as in cauliflowers I should say. Put that up there so we have a sense of disorder going up. Now I want to bring down into a dark, lovely dark deep green. I still have my sallow colours which are really dark, but they're probably just too, yeah, that's too blue. We need a much greeny green. So I've got some dark leafy green, which is another spectrum colour. Just remember that the colours I'm using, it doesn't matter, you don't have to have the same, it's just the idea. There's no religious, book about this. So again, oh, look at that, look at the depth of that colour, that's what I'm going for. Now this is where the masking is helping me. I'm just going to get that really dark green to make it look dramatic. The back of it will, be really deep. But I don't want to go too far down yet. Get rid of that water. And see, we've got a little bit of buzz coming out of the sallow, but also then the leafy green pushes it back, one goes woohoo like a party, and the other one pushes it into somberness. The different colours, the olivey colours are quite sombre and mature, if you like. It's like the Australian bush. It's like, we're not here for fun. You go into an English landscape with deciduous trees and it's like, oh, there's so many different things going on in there. Whereas the Australian bush is a lot more serious, harder. Okay, so that's good. I like that feeling. And now I just have to decide whether I'm going to bring the green right down and like have a really bright green down the front as if it's grass, like something like this, which is a grassy colour. I think I just put yellow into a little bit of the sallow. All right, we'll just pop that down there for now. We'll see where we go. Feels a bit weird because I don't usually do green grass like that. All right, we'll just pot it there and then we'll just somehow meet as if the garden's all coming around. Very freestyle here. Keep it all loose, as if you're using acrylic in an expressive way. Like, see, I'm just going to lighten that up so I can get a sense of dimension. If you get stuck, stop and dry and get back into it again. It just sort of resets the whole thing. Gold and yellow, which I've got my favourite, which is the red gold in there. That'll brighten it up a bit. I like the way that's coming down, those little pieces of light like that, but it is probably a little bit too light. Look out for things like that which wouldn't make sense. It's nice, isn't it? But the trouble is it's just a bit too bright. Now our little puppy dog, in the other picture she was sitting amongst all the grass and the leaves, so we may still do that. I was wondering whether I might leave it like that with the space at the front where she's just sitting in front of the garden. I just think it needs to, if we're going to chase that other feeling, it needs to be more like she's sitting amongst all the garden, all the leaves. But by changing the tones here, like the colours as I go down, it makes it so it's not just one big green blob. It's sort of like a shadowy area around where she's sitting, perhaps. This will be a fairly quick painting, I can assure you, because of the way we're dealing with it. And I just want you to know that you can do some fast paintings. You could pop a little few surprises in there, like a little bit of burnt sienna to brighten it up a bit. Whatever you put in, if it's wet, it'll kind of absorb into the other colour. So, for example, let's see what happens if we put a little bit of red into that green. It just puts a dash in, but it's not overwhelming because I don't want to overwhelm it. All right, let's dry it off. It's got a very bubbly, expressive feeling. Some might think it's a failure, but I don't think it's a failure. I think it's exactly where I want to go. A watercolour painting that doesn't look like a watercolour painting. I think the sky could do with a little bit more intensity, and it just feels not quite right. So I'm going to go back into the sky with a bit more intention, I think. And yeah, maybe I would like it to be a bit smoother, perhaps. Let's see. So I'll try going in with cerulean blue. I'm just going to put it in a place outside the camera here. I'll just come over the top of the whole thing with some of this. It's quite an inferior pigment. So let's see what happens when I go over the top. Turn around. Yeah, that's quite a nice blue. Okay, let's go in there. We'll take some dares with ourselves, pop some in there. Yep, that's good, very lightly, because I'm not wanting to stir everything up. Oh, I like the change. And you know, this, pop it a little bit into this part here and get a bit of consistency. It's very inferior, so we can, yeah, there we go. Remember that your best friend is the wiping towel. That's where everything gets solved. That's where you can undo your problems. Okay, that is quite intense, and I think I'm liking that, even though it's very different to what we've been doing with the graded wash. Let me dry. If I want to bring some texture now, like the acrylic painting, where I am working, the back is dark and we're bringing forward through different tones of green. And don't worry, we'll work out what's going on up there as we go, because we'll have some things going up into that sky. And remember, even though this looks dark, this is where we come in with our next step. So bringing up some green tones, and I'm just making this up as I go. So, you know, I might sound like I know what I'm doing, but I tell you I don't. I am literally making this up. So I'll just take a bit of that and a bit of that. Just need that to be a bit more yellowy. Let's have a look at that colour. What's that? No, that's, I like it. It's a sort of a olivey, a really nice olivey colour with a tiny bit of gouache in to make it a bit more light. Yeah, that's good. I'll take it a bit further. Right, so all that was a bit of a red, gold, white, and I went into just some phthalo green. And now how do I put this on where it doesn't look too blobbed? I need to have a bit, that's too, if you've got a small brush, it's going to look blobbed. So I'll just use a bit bigger. Let's see whether I can get the blobs, suitable blobs. Turning your brush, you know, putting it on in unusual ways. That's how you get shapes and things. That sort of brings it up a little bit in tone, so all the dark stays there. We're not covering it, we just want to sort of bring layers up with light, right? So that's enough for now, and then we'll just dry that off, and we'll do the next light colour forward. Let's go light again, another lighter colour. So we'll go to the same kind of colour. So we've got a bit of green, phthalo green. We're going to have a bit of, I'm just going to take this out with this bit of red gold in there. Or you could even put a little bit of yellow in there. I was just trying not to put the green brush in there, but it's going to go there anyway. No, that's not right. We need more white. There. All right, here we go. Lots of washing. There we go, look. So that's a much paler colour, but it's not warm enough. There we go. So we'll come back to this. And again, don't want to use that brush, it's too small. And I'll come back in and see if we can put some, remember, random shapes. Hold the brush a little bit funny. Take some of it off if it's too much. I know it feels like you're wasting paint, and you are, but give a little to get a little. See how we're bringing this feeling of texture, and if you just move your brush around, so it's doing funny things. That's the secret. Don't use the tools like normal people do. There we go. So see, it's coming forward again, looking good. We're getting lots of texture. Remember what we said, we're going to be making a kind of a textured, acrylic looking, a painting with depth using watercolour and gouache. Okay, dry time. If you don't dry between and you go back in, the trouble is, while you can pick up and make some little, you know, variations of things as they mix together, you won't get the depth coming through because it'll just all mix into mud or, you know, into one big blob of green. Now I'm going to go again to another grade up, and we could change the tone of green. All right, let's do that. So we'll go over, and what have we got here? We've got like a much more fallowy colour. I'll put a bit of yellow, which will probably make it a bit more of a candy green. It's a brighter green, a bit more. Oh, there she goes. She's made a mess. Never mind, here I've arrived. That's it, that one's buggered now, so I'll just keep working into that one. All right, so take a bit of the white, pop that in there because it is quite strong. Let's have a look. Let's try that colour. When you work really messy like this, you know, you get rid of all that perfectionism stuff straight away, because how could you make perfectionism out of that? Like, it's just a big mess, which is perfect. Here we go again, same method, just use your brush a bit weird. Try and wiggle it around, but with a sensibility, you know, you're thinking, well, probably make shapes that sort of kind of make sense in a way. Like, but just a few blobs here and there. I know that sky's looking very dull, but fear not. So we're getting a nice texture, it's still coming, it looks great, I love it. Almost enough because it'll get too much. So what we could probably do now is flick to something much brighter that's coming sort of right into the foreground. Maybe we'll keep going with this bright greeny yellow, or more yellow type colour. Oh, it's got muck in it. I'm making a big mess of my yellows, doesn't matter, I'll clean them up afterwards. That's very green, as you can see. Okay. I think the big brush stops you from getting all bitty and making it look too predetermined or something. You keep the energy sort of going out one way. That's looking good, I like it. That will dry a bit darker. Might think I'm going to a lot of trouble here, but I really have only been painting for about half an hour or something, and the texture we're getting is great, and you can still see the dark, but I think I better not go too much further, I'll lose the background. And then we'll just now go to, say, a little bit of a few finer details. Go even lighter, but be careful because it'll get too candied. A couple of dots. You can have lots of fun with wriggles. And now, I reckon a nice dark, really nice dark few stems. I'll go into my faux black, which was just sepia and ultramarine blue, to make some really nice dark marks. A little bit strategic. Not too many. Looks juicy, doesn't it? In the other painting, I had some red blobs and dots and things which really spruced it up. And I do think that's one of the things I was intending on doing, to, you know, with these red masked dots. So let's add some pizzazz, something unexpected, using a bit of the old artist's license. So I'm into the dark crimson. Now I know I could just reveal those. Actually, let's just pull that masking off those dots. Hopefully it comes off. Let's go. Make sure everything is really dry before you do. Bone dry. Here we go, kids. Oh, I can't even use masking, can I, successfully? I don't know where it is. It's somewhere in here. Is that one? There it is. Oh gosh, I'm hopeless at this. You can tell I don't do this all the time. I know there's one down here. There's one here. It's too bright, isn't it? Go on, let's do it. Come on. Let's do the dog. Oh, I think the ear. Where's the ear? Oh, there it is. Oh, there she goes. Oh, if it doesn't take the paper off. Oh, well, there's my dog. There's my Sue dog. Like, what do you call those rubby things that you win money on? Scratchies. I didn't put a tail on her. How about that? A ghost. It looks really weird, doesn't it? I don't know. Let's see if it works out. It might not. It might be a complete failure. Well, you're here to witness it. So if I was going to utilise those spots, which I was, and now they're going to look silly because they're not everywhere else. Oh, well, let's find out. So I'll use the crimson-y colour. I guess I could use a bit of purpley crimson, which I've got over the far side there. And I'm just going to put a bit of that in around as if it's like a little red flower in the garden, so that there's like a darker version of it around. You know, something like a bush. Right, so that doesn't look like much at this stage. Put that there, even though that looks brown. And then do the same with that one. Then we'll come in with our bright red in a minute. But even this needs to have some shadow in it. I'm not quite sure I should have done those. Let's find out. Bright red. Okay, here we go. Oop. Lovely. Oh, look at that. That's pretty. It's going to really stand out, isn't it? Because we masked. Now back to our little red, dark red ones. We'll put that in anyway, and they will probably just be a bit more like a dull version of these red things, whatever they are, little flying red flowers. Nonsense kind of has to make sense, doesn't it? Oh, I like it. And if we wanted to leave them, they have a really bright, kind of sparkly effect. You'll get a feeling of texture if you you're sort of mimicking texture by, say, taking the red and maybe adding, I've got this red lake, orange, or orange lake deep. Maybe let's see what happens if I put a big blob of that on there. That's sort of like literally raised paint. You see, it's like texture. It's got a whoop, and using it more like an acrylic. That's enough, just about going overboard there. So that's that part done. Now all we have to do is puppy dog, so I might dry. Here we go on the dog. And the way I dealt with this in the acrylic painting is, of course, she's white, but you don't sort of see much white because she's got, that would only be kind of on the light, on the top. So I've just made a bit of raw sienna and ultramarine blue to create some shadow. Just imagine her sitting there. I'll keep it quite naive. So I didn't put a tail, so I'll just add one in now. And even though, you know, you're mixing raw sienna, blue, try to keep the paint lively, like so you can actually, you know, don't just blend it all together. Allow some of the colours to do their own thing, like in the raw sienna, which is a bit messy. So pull a bit of that out, pop a bit of that in, and then the same with the blue, and then just sort of let it mix on the page a bit. and then you'll get that, see that lovely cauliflower stuff that allows the pigment, which it dries, and like when they do, you know, they check for which blood type you are, and they put that blood on this little slide thing, and it, depending on, you know, if you've got a funny blood type, it separates or it just stays nice and smooth. That's what watercolour reminds me of. If you just let the pigment do its thing, some of it joins together and some of it separates. That's how they determine your blood type. Right, so look at that, that's lovely, isn't it? I like where that's going. Brush hair there. I have to turn it around so I get the edge right of the brown. And just try to control your water. We don't mind cauliflower, but we also want to control what's happening, because that will kind of take everything out. That, I've just put a little bit of mauve into that. Okay, and then go back in with the dark and let it meet and greet. Join together. Now, I know that I'm going to have a little brow here where it's going to be darker, so I am pretty much just mimicking my own other work. It's quite dark, isn't it? She had these very old, sort of like, you know, old things like her little sleepy marks there. It looks a bit extreme. We probably need to dry that, I think, to keep going. Yeah, we'll just do a bit in the ears and we'll dry. So we'll just put some ear business in there. A bit of darkness in the ear. Maybe. Fear not, we're working in such a light inferior wash that we can pretty much rub it out. I think the tail's not right, so I'm just going to take that out. It looks a bit small, doesn't it? We'll juice that up with some gouache in a minute. Okay, so before I go into dry, take that out a bit. Right, I'm going to dry right now. Your dryer and your brush and your towel are kind of, it's like if you were, I don't know, riding a horse. They're the way you control the medium and the direction it's going in. You know, whether it goes too fast, you pull it in, you turn it, you move it around. So they're your very important tools. And the more you do, the more comfortable you'll get using the medium. So I really encourage you to just play with it. If you are a beginner or a relearner or something, just, yeah, the whole idea of these videos is to remove the feeling of intimidation around using watercolour and the other mediums when we get to them, which I've got, I can't wait to move into the Paint Like a Kid series. That's crazy. And then you'll really see how bad I paint, how bad I can paint. It's fun. I do it on purpose. It's really good. But it really breaks you out of those locks of perfection that you get into, which are just, honestly, just a pain in the rear end. Let's deepen the brow, the browny blue. Now, this is quite dark, so I would like to lighten this up a bit now. Got the drama in there. Oops. It looks a bit terrible, doesn't it? But don't worry. It's just capturing a little bit of the drama, or the character, I suppose, is more the word, of your subject. Pop just some black eyes in. Making them a bit larger. Knock it back with just a little bit of like a gold. And a little pop in the eye for brightness. It just brings a bit of light in. I know it's a bit gimmicky. For these paintings, it works quite well. We definitely need to spruce that tail up. I'm just going to ease that out. There we go. So it's not too drastic. It's quite a thin tail, isn't it? Perhaps we'll make it just a tiny bit thicker. Feels like it just goes off like a little sword. Now we've got quite an intense white coming down there, which is quite strong. We can push her back a little bit. I think I might leave it because it does hold that intensity. You can sort of just see the watercolour pencil through there. We need to anchor with a bit of dark underneath. So a darker green. Just a little bit of a extension on the ear, and maybe just refine that one, and perhaps I'll just hide that pencil a bit there. There's a bit there too, just with a bit of white gouache, not too much. Oh, that's great. We ended up getting a really nice crispy white out of that. In my original one, I had spots on her. She had like little black spots, but I think I might leave it like that. Now we've got that done, I think we're just about finished, but we could spruce up the yellows a little bit. And now that everything's dry, we've got the tone making sense. All my yellows are poisoned with green, so I'll just wipe them out a bit. Brilliant yellow with a bit of gold would be nice. I want a bit of orange, so I've just grabbed a bit of that red, put it in there. That'll give me a nice orange. Let's see if this works. Oh yeah, that's good. I'm just brightening up those reds by putting a highlight. Really dark little touch there really anchors that puppy dog, but only right at the edge. There we go. That's all. Okay, that's it. I think I've finished. The sky is quite disappointingly dark, isn't it? But that is the effect we wanted. You could actually brighten up. I'd probably sit with that painting for a while, but not to go straight back in and try and fix that sky, because it's the muted dullness that allows this feature to stand out. It does feel like there's something missing, but I'm not quite sure what it is. So I'm going to leave it alone, because that's what you have to do. Sit back, look at it for a while and see what it says to you. Sometimes I usually have an old frame, a picture frame, that I will put it in under glass or something, and it gives me a new perspective on it, and then I'll set it up somewhere and give myself a surprise by walking in the room. I've got this old frame. I'll set the painting in it or behind the glass, and then I can actually just look at it a while with a bit of space around it. It's surprising how you might think something's really rubbishy, and you put it in like that and you go, hang on a minute, that's really beautiful. Or it might just be that when you do that, you can actually see what the problem is with the actual painting. I've just got this feeling there's a missing element, something right here. Maybe it's just a little daisy. I don't know, it just feels like it needs a slight balance here. So that's what's coming through. Let me fix that. So what I'm doing is I'm just darkening a few elements near the dog to push the eye over to this balance. So by darkening behind, I'm isolating a bit more, just subtly, not there, I don't want that to go. So just looking for the contrasts to get the maximum sort of placement. It might be that the spots on the dog would sort this out, but I actually think these little flowers have worked quite well. A bit kitschy, but I think they do the job. That works. I think I'm done with that. I just need to sign it. That's my painting finished for today, which is Sue Dog in the Garden. Now that was easy, where we've painted a watercolour, a little bit like an acrylic, to get texture and drama, and really very easy, using a bit of masking fluid to help us out with that bright white. And the idea was to mute the background as we did, including the blue, which was a little bit scary at first, but that keeps all the focus on these frontal elements. So that's the end of day 13. I hope you enjoyed this one today, and I'll see you tomorrow.